We are back with the Buffalonian Podcast. I'm Joe Callie. As always, I'm joined by none other than Dom Loss. And Dom, happy NFL playoffs 2025. We're here at the end of the regular season. The Bills fall to the Patriots. The front office needs to be cleared out. I can't handle it. You can't beat Gerard Mayo, who was later fired. I think a big change needs to happen. Just kidding. At the end of the day, 13-4. I don't know. I was definitely more optimistic. I'd have to go back and look where our predictions were. I think I said 12-5 or something like that. So I was hovering right around. I think did you say 11 and 6, 10-7?
Yeah.
So the Bills finished the season 13-4. Really, I mean, if they played their starters, could have been 14-3, but that's neither here nor there. And feeling optimistic going into the playoffs. The Broncos are officially the opponent heading into Highmark Stadium. Sean Payton, Bo Nix put up an impressive performance. Everybody's worried about him now, and then everyone forgets the Chiefs starters didn't touch the field whatsoever. But recapping this Patriots game, any thoughts you have just on the viability of the Bills' backups or any of that? We saw a little Mike White action. By a little bit, I mean like 3 for 11. But what do you think? What's going on?
I don't think there's a lot to take away, to be honest with you. I think it was a little disappointing with Keon's performance, kind of just having a lot of reps and having a lot of opportunities. I think he only had 2 catches on 10 targets.
Yeah, nothing spectacular.
Nothing spectacular. He jumped off, the page there. So that's a little, frustrating, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Amari Cooper also not there dealing with a personal matter.
Sure,
Still dealing with that personal matter, too. Not back at practice yet.
Yeah, at the moment. Yeah. I would say I feel like it's hard to take anything away from these games because you're playing backups, and TB misses another PAT, but he made 2 decent field goals, so it's just kind of weird. Again, another kind of weird performance.
His misses since that Miami game have just been the weird misses, though.
Yeah.
Like the shortest miss in the NFL, like we said. Like it's just he'll hit the big ones, but these intermediate to field goals and extra points just not great.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's hard to really have a lot of thoughts when you see the backups play. It's hard to see what safety really stood out because, again, you have backup rushers and you have backup guys in coverage.
Yeah,
so those
everything's
guys,
a backup.
I mean, it's kind of, again, those are opportunities to put yourself on tape, and sometimes you're not going to do stuff per se to, I don't want to say help the team. That sounds wrong, but like you're trying to flash. Like you're trying to, and sometimes you can get caught up in that moment a little bit. So it's hard to say. I would say the overwhelming, I guess my thought is the Bills really should have invested in a backup quarterback.
Yeah,
I know the Bills really don't, and the Bills don't care. The Bills really have the Colts perspective of if Josh is ever actually banged up and lost for the season, God forbid.
Yeah, knock on wood. I'll do it too.
They're effed. I mean, that's pretty much.
Yeah, they're going for the draft pick at that point. Yeah.
They're screwed.
They're going to add a weapon in the first round.
I feel like that's kind of been their mindset, which is whatever. I mean, I would have liked them, again, in last year's draft to draft Joe Milton.
Yeah, look at how he played. Yeah, I mean,
he played really well. Again, against backups, but like he played really well. And there was some stuff where it was like, whoa, that was kind of an insane athlete, kind of.
Lots of scrambling, too.
Fits your mold. So I think that's a little thing that I think the Bills really should kind of consider, especially what happened to Miami. With Tua going down,
I'm out. Tyreek, he's out of there.
Yeah, with Miami going, what happened with Miami? How their ship kind of sank once Tua got knocked out. So, yeah, I think also like for me, it's like you want to draft someone who resembles your quarterback.
Yeah, you need a mobile
or have
athletic.
Who is your quarterback? Like not one's
Depending
Josh
on
Allen.
Yeah,
but like Mitch. Yeah, Mitch could probably do some of the athletic stuff. But like you see his arm, it's average at best. Right, like Milton kind of could do the mobile stuff that Josh has, but he also has a can for an arm like Josh. So it's kind of that would have been a good fit because it's like, all right, you don't have to change your offense that much, right? It's not like you can still do designed runs, you can figure that way. So I think that's my overwhelming thought after this game is I would like the Bills in the offseason to invest a little bit more into the backup quarterback. That's not on Mike White or Mitch Trubisky, but I don't think they will because that's kind of what they've been doing. I mean, they've consistently had Mitch, Matt Barkley, Case Keenum.
Case Keenum was just
Mike
not
White.
It. Yeah,
I don't know. They just kind of have the guy who has a below average arm that's kind of a vet, and I guess maybe that's what they want. But
who can go in and manage a game if asked to? But at least they have a durable quarterback.
I don't know. I felt like they tried that with Jake Fromm, and he wasn't really a toolsy guy,
No.
and he flamed out. So I would like them to take a shot in a little later rounds, especially because these quarterbacks in this draft seem to be weaker, and it seems like there might be just guys that are kind of like projects, and I'd be okay with them taking a shot at someone. I don't know who that is, but
we're not at the mock drafts yet. We're still in the we're still.
That's kind of my own
thought.
thought. I thought Ray Davis looked cool, so
he did.
Javon Solomon flashed a little bit. I think it's going to be interesting. Honestly, I think it's going to be interesting what happens to this 2024 draft, kind of a year removed from this game. Like, I think we saw a lot of those guys in action.
Yeah, Dwayne Carter, all those guys.
Dwayne Carter, Cole Bishop, obviously Keon. And, yeah, am I going to sit up here and say those guys have been
phenomenal
impact players? No. Right? Like, they've been serviceable at times, whatever.
Shown some flashes at others, right?
But I think, you look at the first 3 picks of the 23 draft, right? Kincaid, Torrance, and Williams. I only had 6 picks, which I kind of forgot about. One of them's Alex Austin, who actually plays for the Patriots and that's a cornerback.
Yeah.
But those 3 guys, like, you would have thought after last season, right around this time, it's like, all right, Kincaid's a nice piece, right? Osiris Torrance is okay.
Yeah.
And Dorian Williams is kind of like, why would we draft another third-round linebacker? Because he's nobody. Right, and then you look at this year, it's like, all right, Kincaid a little up and down injury, but, like, he seems like a piece for the future. Torrance looks like a piece for the future. Like, he kind of stabilized himself after a slow start. And then you see Dorian Williams kind of be like, oh, maybe he should play over Matt Milano. So, like, I'm intrigued. I'm interested to see what we look at this class a year from now. Right? A year from now, we'll see, hey, Keon, we always knew was kind of a flawed, kind of a raw player, going to take some time to develop. Cole Bishop, again, kind of athletic. I don't want to say raw, but like he's athletic.
Yeah, you got to develop his talent.
It's tough to learn the system in 1 year, right? And then we're gonna see Dwayne Carter a year removed, getting to the NFL speed a little bit more. Javon Solomon, like I think we'll see some more interesting things. So I don't want to panic on the draft class. I think
a year is a good time frame in my opinion.
Another year, 2 years in is kind of good to see. And my thing, I guess, my main frustration going into, I guess, more of an overwhelming going into the playoffs is I kind of just still don't understand the Carter pick.
Yeah, Dwayne.
Yeah, I just, he's a 3-tech. You have Ed Oliver. I don't know if there was a world where the Bills might have thought, hey, maybe we should trade Ed Oliver for draft capital and that we should start to develop another 3-tech. I don't know. For the Bills, who play a lot of too high, kind of invite the run, I have been frustrated that we're going into yet another postseason relying on Daquan Jones, who's in his 30s, to be the 1-tech.
It's like coming off a year where he had a torn pec, completely torn.
Right. Like I think that's frustrating for me is that 22 he listen, they lost the game, he didn't play. Yeah, he had the calf injury, didn't play against the Bengals, right? 23, kind of a weird year, tore his pec. Hasn't been the same player. And now, again, this is kind of my fear is that you're relying on an older, injured player to be your 1-tech. And it's like, well, Wayne Carter's not a 1-tech. Obviously, Ed Oliver's not a 1-tech. So, they just really haven't been able to find that true starting caliber player. And they don't have an above-average player in that role. Like, Daquan Jones is probably slightly below average now. And that's my frustration is that I just don't see the fit for Carter. He's the one draft pick where it's like, I don't know, man. I haven't seen anything from him. I mean, this has been a couple flashes, but it was struggling in training camp as well.
It's nothing consistent to the point where you're like, okay, this guy's going to be a superstar on the defensive line.
Like you see it with Cole Bishop. You see the flashes. You see Javon Solomon rush the passer. I know he can't sack the quarterback for crap, but Keon, he's made
still
some
put
catches,
pressure,
right? And they're just about consistent with him. With Dwayne Carter, it's been like, all right, every couple games he has one play. It's one play. You got to be more consistent. And I don't know. It's definitely frustrating that it seems that Quentin Jefferson and Jordan Phillips, who they kind of brought off the street, those guys are going to probably play over him in the playoffs, and rightfully so. So he's probably been the most disappointing rookie, and it's definitely a position, that 1-tech position, where I think that's the Bills' biggest need going into the offseason. I know people are going to hate saying it, but I think the D-line kind of needs to get really worked. They
do, and that's been a big concern for the Bills this entire season, right? And recently they've kind of come into their own. Ed Oliver really starting to put things together, but I think the Dom 5 and just general discourse from us for many of the first parts of the season was, other than Greg Russo, what's going on here? Von Miller at post suspension, he was in the sack column pretty consistently before, but he had to shake the rust off, and it was your secondary kind of holding down the fort, if you will, right? The defensive line, the pressure just wasn't there. And like I said, recent weeks it's gotten better, but I agree with you. I think that's going to be where they're going to really have to hone in years to come, especially, maybe not Dwayne Carter. Maybe you pick up a better pass rusher or run blocker. You got to kind of get a guy to fill the shoes of Daquan Jones. If Daquan might, who knows? I don't know how much time he has left in his contract, but he hasn't been the same player. You got to kind of phase him out, right?
Well, it's also I guess it's my frustration is that, the 2020 Bills were a really good team, but they were a really flawed team. Like that's why I've never
compared this team to the 2020 Bills.
I just avoid so the 2020 Bills would get destroyed by any other later variation of the Bills.
Yeah, if you put this team up against them,
because the 2020 Bills were not a good offensive line, they weren't a good defensive line.
No.
So you could really pound them.
Allen was running for his life almost every play.
So I think that's a little bit of my frustration kind of with it now is that we've seen the offensive line, the investments really pay off.
Right.
And the development of the offensive line really pay off to where that's a strength now. Right,
even losing Mitch Morse, it's a strength.
Well, they were one of the worst teams in 2020 of running the ball in light boxes. And now they get heavy boxes, 8+ people in the box, one of the higher rates in the NFL, and they still run efficiently.
Yeah.
And it's a real credit to Joe Brady. It's a real credit to Brandon Beane and the coaching staff, Aaron Cromer, to develop them. But that's where I think there's some frustration is that they've been able to develop, they've been able to add people to the offensive line, and that's a strength. And the defensive line, they've added players, but those players just don't quite fit, right? They don't quite fit, and they've not quite developed, right? You get Greg Rousseau, right? Vaughn, pay a big contract to him. He's been okay. Ed Oliver is okay. You drafted him 9th overall, and he's been pretty solid. Whatever. Up and down. Daquan Jones has been good, but he's also in his 30s. And it's all right, who else have they done? Boogie Basham, 2nd-round pick, miss. AJ Panessa, 2nd-round pick, kind of miss.
Kind of, yeah.
He's been rotational, but
he's not. He would never be a starter by any means.
He has been starting, which is probably with Vaughn. I think Vaughn needs to play more.
Yeah.
And then Dwayne Carter. It's again, he hasn't really
materialized.
Looks like he's improved. So I think John Solomon at least is interesting. But that's what I'm saying. I think this free agency and draft, I think they have to heavily invest into that D line because it's kind of the reason why they had to pay Greg Rousseau, because if Greg Rousseau leaves, who the hell is going to play D line? But that's definitely my
end of season takeaway.
Forwarding into now the playoffs, that's my number one concern. It's because
Denver.
It's basically you're going to have to play Denver, who has a good offensive line.
Yep.
Probably Baltimore has a good offensive line.
Yep.
And KC has a good offensive line, and probably Philly or Detroit. All 4 of those teams have very good offensive lines, and it's kind of do you have trust that your D line is going to be able to hold serve? And the answer to me is no.
You've seen one of those games already in Detroit, and look at what that score ended up being in the regular season.
No, I don't count that. That's a bad no.
No?
No. That no. They dropped back to pass 60 times.
I know that.
They dominated. No, the D-line actually dominated that game.
Yeah.
They had 2 guys out in the secondary.
Right. I'm not shitting on it for all intents and purposes. But
I think the Ravens game is a better example of
just not defensive.
They just got dominated.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the big concern is you had to trust your D-line, and to me, I don't. And I think we're starting to see that the Bills kind of don't too, because they're seeing them blitz more and giving up coverage to stop the run. So yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. I know we don't want to speak too much into the matchup.
No, that'll be Friday for betting on the Bills. But
listen, the Broncos have a good offensive line. They're going to keep Bo clean a lot of the time. They do a lot of horizontal screens.
Yep.
And all
and
that.
The Bills defense, how they are notoriously against the screen.
And they have a good X receiver in Cortland Sutton. But again, I like that they're playing against a rookie quarterback, Sean McDermott, on the road. They are, so I think the fans will have a big impact. And
in the temperature, Denver, can get a little colder.
Well, Denver's going to probably colder than Buffalo sometimes.
Yeah,
but and then also they can't really run the ball that effectively sometimes too. Denver has a really good pass blocking offensive line, but they struggle a little bit running the ball. They don't have great backs, so again, I think that's a little bit of an advantage for the Bills. And then on the Bills on offense, I think they're going to come up against a really good defensive line that can get after the quarterback. Obviously, Pat Surtain's probably might be the defensive player of the year at cornerback. Yeah. And honestly, that's fine for the Bills. Take away Amari Cooper. That's fine.
You got Keon. You got Mac.
We have other guys that
Khalil.
That's not. It's not like this is the 2023 Bills where it's all right, take away Stephon Diggs. Well, we're throwing to Trent Sherfield now because Gabe Davis is injured. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit different. So I think they'll be able to hopefully be able to run the ball, kind of control the clock, and kind of get their backs in space in the passing game against these linebackers. So I don't want to talk too much about it, but they are 8.5-point favorites.
Yes, they are, and they were 8.5-point favorites before the Dolphins or Bengals even played on Sunday. So FanDuel had those odds out early Sunday morning, getting ready to go. But not getting too far into that, I think it's going to be a good game. It's an exciting wild card game. I have enjoyed actually watching the Broncos. I think Bo Nix is a very good quarterback. I think he's raw, like you said. He's a rookie quarterback, but you've seen some throws from him where it's like, okay, this guy's going to be good.
It's a good team.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
Sean Payton's kind of, after the whole Russell Wilson fiasco, whatever was going on there, they're figuring it out a little bit.
it's a little bit different than some of the 7 seeds they played.
Yeah.
Right? Like Mason Rudolph was like our backup quarterback. Skylar Thompson, backup quarterback Dolphins.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
A little different from the teams that they played in the 2-7. I mean, I think this team isn't better than the Colts team that they played in 2020, in my opinion. But
that Colts game got interesting.
yeah, so I think this game could get interesting. But yeah, I would say probably the team that you want. I don't know if they'd match up. They probably match up the worst of Denver out of the 3 teams that they could have played, but you probably still feel pretty comfortable because it's just the quarterback. And kind of the situation, like you didn't want to play playing Miami again 3 times.
Third time, and they were close last time. I know past results don't guarantee future outcomes.
You don't know if Tua's going to play, but he might be banged up. But then
it's
Burrow,
never easy.
Do you really want to play? I've always kind of thought the fear of Cincinnati was a little bit better than the actual like team. Like it's like okay, Burrow scares me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, but
yeah, the offense. But also the take of Kansas City did everything they could to keep Cincinnati out of the playoffs, just absolute. And then you have other people saying it's not fair.
Beat New England at home.
Exactly.
In the playoffs,
Win games. Don't go like 0-4 to start the season. That'd be great. That would help your chances exponentially, actually, if you could put games together. But that, neither here nor there.
Sunday at 1.
Sunday at 1 p.m. Nice early start for the Bills. I love the 1 p.m. games. Back to drought. You know.
You want to hear my prediction right now?
For game prediction, you're gonna do it early?
No. I'm just saying. I'm just gonna pick the Bills. I think the Bills are gonna win.
Yeah.
But I will predict right now that the Bills are gonna be playing on Sunday, all
throughout the playoffs.
I
would love that.
Listen, the last 2 ones are obvious. Okay, obviously Super Bowl Sunday and the AFC Championship game. But I think if the favorites hold, which I think they will, which is Baltimore Buffalo, I think we're gonna get that game that. Like it's like 6:00 Sunday, the last divisional game.
Yeah, kind of primetime-ish, but
you know how the Bills and Chiefs the last 2 times they played in the division round, they played in that game.
Yeah,
like I think we're gonna get that.
Okay,
because I think it's gonna be Bills Ravens. I think it's going to be like Chargers Chiefs, which is probably gonna be a Saturday game, and I think we're gonna probably get. I don't know. Philly kind of is weird now because Philly might not have Jalen Hurts, but I assume we're gonna get like. I'm assuming Philadelphia's going to win. I actually think Washington's going to beat Tampa.
Did you see who's coming back for Detroit?
Yeah, oh boy.
Demo. David Montgomery, Knuckles.
Yeah, so whoever wants to win the Rams, Vikings will probably play the Eagles. That's probably a 1 p.m. set Sunday.
It's just crazy to me. 14-3 is the 5th seed in the NFC. You know, like just looking at records, that's just crazy to me to look at. But here's my question for you.
Had a chance to win the division.
They did. That game fell flat on its face, let me tell you, from how that was talked about. Oh, it's going to be a track meet, these 2 teams, blah, blah, blah. Nope, not quite. So, as much, you ever seen those FanDuel commercials where it's like the indisputable hunch?
No.
So, it's like a normal dude, and then it's like Eric Andre. You know who that is? Like the crazy comedian.
Sure.
Yeah. And it's like, he's just like, I love the Jets here. And it's telling you to bet that.
Oh, yeah.
That's like telling me the Steelers are going to end up winning over the Ravens, but I just know in my mind it's going to be Bills-Ravens in the divisional round. Like at this point. You know? Yeah,
I think those teams kind of on a collision course to play each other. Again, don't want to talk too far ahead, but not a great matchup for the Bills.
No.
Luckily,
from what happened earlier.
Luckily that it's at home this time. I think it'd be hard to pick the Bills if they were going to Baltimore, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a great matchup, but we'll see what happens. I mean, again, the Bills have to take care of business against a pesky Broncos team, but yeah, I think there's a lot of good games. I mean, I think Steelers, Ravens, at least could be kind of. I don't know. I just think the Ravens are going to kick their ass, but those games have always been kind of weird. I think the Bucs game was probably really awesome. The Monday night game, Vikings Rams is good. The Eagles game could get weird again because if Hurts doesn't play, and like Kenny Pickett has to start, like that could be the Packers. Like that could be their moment again as a 7 seed upsetting the 2. I'm blanking. Oh, the Chargers game. Yeah, that's like the Houston game. Always the first game on Saturday on Wild Card weekend.
Yeah,
because it just. I don't know. I think a lot of people are going to think the Chargers are going to win that game.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. Before we dive in, because you mentioned Bills-Ravens, and I think there's a big conversation swirling around that we've commented on. that I want to definitely hit on at this point, but maybe not a Buffalo Bill. Your favorite story from the 2024 NFL season? Mine's Bryce Young. Just love watching that guy play football now. I bet Panthers money line outright the other day and hit overtime. What's your favorite storyline from the season that you've seen? It could be a Bill storyline, like just how talked down they were, whatever. But do you have any others? I know that's kind of like an off-whip question. Like you were not ready for that.
Yeah,
but,
I wasn't ready for that. That's a good question.
But like Bryce Young getting benched and coming back, like that's a storybook ending for me.
I'll give a Bills one and a non-Bills one.
Okay.
I think obviously my favorite storyline for the Bills would be the Josh Allen kind of
Ascension
MVP, because it's like, you know what? I don't want to bring this to the MVP discussion right now, but like he's been so close, right? 3 top 5 finishes, and now it's like kind of like this guy has been knocking on the door, and now he just busts through it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a cool kind of storyline to see. My favorite that's a tough question.
I know.
You know, my favorite storyline I'd have to say really is the Lions kind of
Detroit, yeah,
riding ship throughout everything. Like I'm kind of shocked I'm kind of stunned, to be honest, that they won. I know I picked them to win in my family's picks pool, but I was still kind of shocked that they won
by that margin against another good team,
and by that dominant fashion. I know. Okay, they went 0 for 4 in the red zone, so it could have been closer. Sure, but I mean, at the end of the day, the final score is the final score.
Yeah. Darnold's another good story you can look at. His ascension back into the NFL.
He is very interesting. Where I felt like after week 17, he probably earned himself a lot of money, like $50 million. Mm-hmm. And after that performance, like, dude, you're gonna kind of perform on the road here against the Rams. Or he's still probably gonna get like the Baker Mayfield contract, $300-400. But like, I don't know. I think he has like $50 million on the line, because like, dude, like, I'm sorry, like, how is anyone gonna pay him if he politely crapped the bed?
He did
against a lot. I mean, he's the reason they lost that game. I mean, he had open receivers and couldn't hit him, and he was seeing ghosts. And then if he plays bad against the Rams, like, dude, like, I'm sorry, but like, you had a really good year, but like, your last 2 games, pressure moments on the road, like, you gagged. Like, I'm sorry, like, I don't know how, like, the Rams. Honestly, God, you know, it's probably the.
Yeah, if the Rams give him a run for their money,
you know who's happy about that? The Vikings. Mm-hmm. It's like, dude, like, honestly, God, the Vikings are probably like, honestly, we should just trade them and get what we want, because maybe JJ is better, but like, if we lose in the first round, like, we lost in the first round, like, why? We know what the Sam Darnold experience is, right? Which is great. You get 14 wins, but you don't win the big game.
Yeah. Well, you have other teams that might be looking for something like that, even just to break the playoffs, like the Giants. So he might get his bag somewhere. Who knows? But Sam Darnold's another. That's an interesting one. It's not fully written yet. I feel like that story.
The 2018 quarterback class.
Yeah, they're showing out minus
one of the better ones of all time now.
Yeah,
you know I'm saying, like,
Sam Rosen.
Sam Darnold's a Pro Bowler. Lamar's a Pro Bowler. Josh Allen's a Pro Bowler. Baker kind of got snubbed a little bit ish. He's still due for like 40 touchdowns. So
he's an animal. Watching that Bucks game, like that was not in their favor for a while, and then what a scrappy dude.
I'll say this, and this isn't meant to be controversial. I feel like he's a little overrated. I'm gonna say it.
No, listen.
I'm gonna say it. I think. Also, I'm gonna say something. I'll say something really controversial.
Okay. Okay.
Really controversial. I thought the Mike Evans thing was stupid.
What, the throwing for 1,000 yards? Yeah.
So dumb. I'm sorry, if the Bills did that, I would be so pissed, because for me, your game matters. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, I could. That game didn't mean crap. I could understand them fooling around at the end of the game trying to get him yards.
Yeah.
But like, the fact is that you are in a 4-man offense. You're winning by only a singular point, and you have to win to get in.
Yeah.
I know. Okay.
Carolina ended up beating.
But that game
Atlanta.
It
was still very much going.
That game was in the balance at that time.
Yeah. They were tying and untying rapidly.
They throw the ball to him for 12 yards. He goes out of bounds. So he stops the clock when they could have ran the clock to 2 minutes warning, whatever. Bucky Irving scores.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, you can't score. Like, you could have just got 3 yards and pretty much ended the game because you would have got first down. Right? They score. It's a 1-possession game. The Saints kind of just screw up the final drive. Mm-hmm. Like, they were in their territory, and they just, like, Spencer Rattler, 3rd and 10, gets off sides, doesn't throw the ball down the field, and throws a crap ball.
Yeah. Where was that performance against Green Bay is my question from the Saints.
Well, okay. and then finally, like, all right, like, I didn't understand. Honestly, I didn't understand what the Saints were doing. Mm-hmm. If I was the Saints, I would have been petty as crap. I would have had all 11 guys on the field.
Oh, yeah.
Go right next to Mike Evans. You're getting the ball. Like, we will tackle you. We will commit PI. Like, no. Like that's what I would have done if I was the Saints. Why would you let him do that? So I don't know. I thought that was dumb because like I didn't think they were gonna like pick six or fumble, but like it was still like, dude, it's like you had to win the division pretty much. Like why are you guys messing around? I don't know. I thought that was bizarre. I think Mike Evans, great guy, seems likable, is the most overrated player in the history of the National Football League.
Yeah, I didn't know about his name until literally Tom Brady went to Tampa. Like I feel,
He's just like has 4 seasons where he's been like 50 yards away from. He has like 4 seasons where he's been like 3 yards, 1 yard, 6 yards off of 1,000. Oh, in the positive end.
Yeah,
but it's like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, and there's only been like someone had a good stat. Where it was like, there's only been 3 first ballot Hall of Famers in the last 3 years. There's been like Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, and I'm blanking on who the third guy was.
Yeah,
and it wasn't even T.O. And T.O. has really good numbers. I'm blanking on the other guys. But it's like you're like, oh, first ballot Hall of Famers. Like, do you know who makes the first ballot Hall of Fame? Like we have like I'm sorry, Steve Smith, who won the Triple Crown for Carolina, was one of the best receivers in his era, isn't in. Torrey Holt isn't in. He has like 13,000 receiving. Like, I'm sorry, we have like a bunch of Hines Ward isn't in. Like, there's a bunch of receivers that are waiting for their names to be called that haven't got the knock. Like, why is Mike Evans cool? You had 1,000 yards. Yeah. No one ever considered. Mike Evans has made the second team All Pro twice. Like, okay, dude. Like, no one ever thought you were the best receiver in the game. No one. Like, everyone does their top 5. No one puts Mike Evans in the top 5.
No.
I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. He's overrated. It is cool. It is a member of consistency. Hall of Very Good. The Pastor Prime Hall of Fame. Hall of Very Good.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. Yeah, we gotta.
I'm sorry. Just get out of here with the Mike Evans. I just think I'm sorry. He's overrated.
Yeah. Well, speaking, I mean,
he's a good player. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but what he's doing is cool.
Yeah.
It's historic, sure.
Well, if you had Mike Evans' overrated rant on your bingo card for today's episode of the Buffalonian Podcast, I sure didn't. But
that's my favorite storyline.
Okay.
The
overratedness of Mike Evans. It's not a bad one. It's not a bad storyline. But just getting back, the MVP conversation. That's where we were kind of heading for before Mike Evans just derailed everything.
Sorry.
No. It's not a bad thing. I think that's a very good point. Josh Allen is the MVP. I'm declaring it right now. Give me a vote. Josh Allen's the MVP. And I'm sorry. We've talked about it, right? The toxicness of this entire award, dragging another player down to bring another player up. I'm not going to sit here and drag Lamar Jackson. I think he's having a historic season. Josh Allen's the MVP. The odds show it. Everything shows it. Josh Allen, what he's done with this Bills team, we're sitting here saying, right, I don't agree. I agree with you on this. 2020 is everybody's like thought of benchmark, right? Because they made the AFC Championship. That's really it. This team would smoke that team, and it doesn't have Stephon Diggs. It doesn't have all the veteran talent. Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. I switched their names. Oh, my God.
Combined them there.
Yeah, I did. But it doesn't have the veteran talent that team did and the superstars that team did. It's got Josh Allen at the center of it, and that's what's happening. And he's still 40-plus total touchdowns. Hit 40 on the nose, right? He wasn't over it, like that Mike Evans thing, but he hit 40 on the nose. And they're the 2 seed again. Same result as last season, but better performance overall than last season. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they have one of the most historic offenses somehow.
3 points per drive? You're averaging?
I mean, obviously they got a little bit below that because
2.97.
Because
whatever it's going to be.
Yeah. Mitch.
Yeah.
Like Mitch or Mike.
Trubisky and Mike White.
Mitchell, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, he's not Mitch.
Mitchell.
I wonder if he wants to be called Michael.
The original MVP. Yeah.
MVP. Yeah, I think, listen, Lamar had a historic season, and if Lamar wins the award, I'm not going to
get my torch and pitchforks or anything.
I mean, he deserves it. I think Josh deserved it equally as more, and I think it's a situation of what do you consider to be more valuable. I think Josh has done it with a little bit less of a supporting cast than Lamar. A little bit has increased the expectation of what people thought of the Bills going into the season, and
ended up with a better record. I know that's not a quarterback stat.
Well,
but
I think also too, he's beaten
the 2-1 seeds.
Listen, okay, Lamar beat him. Cool. I don't care about that. That was week 4. But like in the heart of the season, he beat the 2-1 seeds. Like, listen, when Jared Goff and Patrick Mahomes starts, those two teams are 30 and 3, and 2 of those losses are to Josh Allen.
I think the Lions too, aren't they averaging around 3 points per drive as well?
Yeah, something about that. Yeah. So, Listen, Lamar is a great player. I just think Josh has been a little bit more valuable this year to his team. And also from the perspective of, like, what was Josh's big knocking point his entire career? Turnovers.
Yes,
right? And
turnovers.
he had less turnovers than Lamar. Heck, the Bills had 8 turnovers total, which is like the tied for the fewest in NFL history.
Unbelievable.
For a team.
Yeah.
And they also played 17 games, so I'm saying a little different. I don't know if that should be the record. But turnovers per game rate. Whatever. And also the sacks, right? I mean, he has under 20 sacks, too. And I know we praised the Bills' offensive line, but I mean, Josh does have a playing that from his ability to escape pressure.
You've seen there have been some sacks that should have been sacks that he just fires as he's like hitting the ground. That's on him. That's Allen.
Yeah, so I think that the still having the elite play with taking so much of the negative play out, I think has been massive for Josh and his offense. And listen, second season in his career that he's averaged over 100 passer rating, had one of the higher QBRs on another 90-plus PFF grade, led the league in EPA per play, total EPA. Like, there's a lot of stats that favor Josh as well. And listen, I know Lamar might edge him off in some. And listen, Lamar has probably a better statistical case, but I think, again...
Yeah. Well, that's what I catch clips. I do not binge network sports television by any means, but Emmanuel Acho said the same thing, right? He's a voter. And he mentioned, if you're a stats first guy, you're probably going to vote Lamar. But if you're a guy in the film room, you're probably going to vote Josh Allen. Like that, that's what it's going to be.
I just think Vegas knows, right? Vegas, his odds jumped to like minus 470.
Yeah.
Lamar's plus 350. I don't know. We'll see. I also didn't know that again, this isn't meant to be mean, but the CBS D team, like their sideline reporter has the MVP vote. I know she does more than just like sideline report for CBS. I think she's like an NFL network. But
they were talking about it on the broadcast.
Yeah, they're just it was like, Eddie, you have a MVP vote. And I'm like, what?
Got to do a double take for a second. Who is this?
Again, they're not allowed to say who they voted for, but I was like, I don't know. It seemed like she was leading Josh. And it seemed like Dano was leading Josh. And it seemed like Acho was leading Josh. So I think that's kind of where it comes in, where I think we know some people, but then there's some people that probably voted Lamar. So I think it's interesting.
Lamar Offensive Player of the Year, though.
Oh, sure.
That's 100%.
Sure.
Stats, that's a stat-driven award, a lot, right?
Sure. So.
But the valuable and the most valuable player is the narrative at the same time.
I'll be interested in Mike's first team All-Pro.
I know. There's a lot of good candidates. Like, it's legitimately interesting.
I don't know, but interesting week ahead.
Yeah, the wild card's coming up fast, and we'll have all of our game preview, normal stuff on betting on the Bills for the playoffs. We'll see how many of those we have left. Those might be coming to a close soon. Hopefully we have 4 more. The Super Bowl preview this year isn't going to just be a Super Bowl pregame show. It's going to be the Bills Super Bowl preview.
Are we doing the Pro Bowl preview too?
Maybe. We actually totally forgot to talk about that. Maybe we will. Maybe, let's get Brian Moorman on the show after he got nailed in that Pro Bowl and ask him what the difference is between flag football and that. But
maybe we test out some dodgeball, show off the strategy. Team dodgeball was big in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, that's right.
Whatever.
Anyway, but we got to talk about the other team, don't we? Just maybe a couple words.
That's enough. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Sabres just. Someone was saying that they're 6 points out of the playoffs. It's just like, I just can't have hope with this team.
No.
I'm sorry. Like,
they're going to get the closest they'll get. They're going to watch. I'm telling you right now. They're going to inch their way back up on a run and then fall flat again. It's going to be the same story it has been the past few years. Can't get there.
Yeah, since someone goes oh, they're 4-2-1. It's like, okay, sure. They also just lost back-to-back games before last night too. So they were they're in the last 3 games they're 1-1-1. So sure, you could, I guess, have a bigger sample to make it seem a little bit better. I don't
know. They're so far sub 500 at this point.
This just seems under. What are we talking about here? I understand. I have no idea what we're talking about. They're bottom in their own.
They're in last place.
They're in last place, and okay, they're 6 points out of the spot. I mean, come on, guys.
It's because the rest of the division's also a cluster.
They're 5 points behind Ottawa. Ottawa has played 3 less games than them.
Yeah.
They have 3 games in hand, and they have a 5-point lead. I'm sorry, they're not 6 points out. Yeah, okay, mathematically they're 6 points out, but they're not really. That's fake.
No, do not grab onto that.
They played so many more games than everyone else. It's fake as crap. So, don't feed me with they could be going on a run. No, they can't. Because if they go on a run, it's going to be like, oh, wow, they went hot for like a couple weeks. And it's going to be like, oh, they're still 6 points out. You know why? It's because they had to make up the difference in games played.
Exactly.
Like,
and you know what? I can't get excited about anything from this team until I see the day. Kevin Adams is no longer the GM of this team.
No.
Like, that is legitimately it.
I can't be excited about this team until they trade Dylan Cousins.
I agree with that, too. You should be
my dad's gonna
selling
be so
off.
mad,
You should be selling off
true.
players.
Like, I don't understand. I'm sorry. Like, I don't fear it.
And the whole thing now, we're active. You're 5 years into your GM, right? Why wouldn't you do that after the 2022 season where you were 1 point out of the playoffs? Why were you not active then? You didn't even get another goaltender. You took a gamble on UPL. He paid off for a season, and then he's hot. I can't
only
do
thing
this.
I will say though is if they trade for Elias Patterson, like I'll get more interested. I'll be intrigued. Now the rumor has been that they want Power and Cousins, which I would be. I don't know. That'd be a tough pill to swallow. I'm a big on Power guy. Hasn't had a great year. I'm not gonna lie. But I still think. Listen, look where Darlene was when he was 22, 23, and look where he is now. I think we're gonna get that.
Defensemen also take quite a while to develop.
I mean, I would still like.
Give him Jacob Bryson. Like, I don't know.
Dude, do a Byram and Cousins trade, right? Like, I think that would work.
That'd be better.
That would be better, and I think that'd
be an easier pill to swallow per se. I still like Bo Byram a lot, though.
I like how he's playing, but you have to pay him, and all the reports, if he wants to be number one, kind of scares me about negotiations per se with that.
I'm this close to planting mini palm trees outside of KeyBank Center, just in little pots, just leaving them sporadically dispersed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be a trade that I'd be like, okay, like you get a legit top line center who may be struggling a little bit, kind of a weird situation with Vancouver, him and JT Miller just kind of hating each other. Like, if you were able to get that, like Tage is now your second line center, like I could be about that. Like, and we see what Kulik is giving, like that would give me a little hope. Like, it would basically just be replacing Cousins with Pettersson, and okay, Byram you lose, which they have to rebuild the blue line. But then also I'd be like, all right, well, like they won't have to pay him, and we'll figure out a way. But
you know what I want? I want Lindy Ruff to hire his own goddamn coaching staff and not have the scraps of Granato left over.
I'll make a prediction right now.
Lindy's gone. He retires.
I think he's one done.
Yep. Seth Appert takes over.
No, I think no.
Do you think they go out and hire?
Seth Appert?
Yeah.
What?
Kevin Adams is a big,
no, I think
hire from within guy.
No, I think Kevin Adams is going to get fired. I think Lindy Ruff's going to retire.
You think Tear Bear is actually going to do that?
I think that's what they should do.
I think that's what they should do, too.
Because
but this is a billionaire's failed passion project at the end of the day. You got to remember.
Listen. I love Lindy. I just don't think – I'm not saying it's his fault.
No.
But he's not working.
He probably didn't expect it to be this bad. Like, in all seriousness.
Well, sure.
He's towards the end of his career. He's probably going to get out
of
all
his last run
of
being a head coach because he's been fired with Dallas, fired in New Jersey, whatever. I just don't think this is working.
No.
And I'm not putting
the blame on him.
Really any blame on Lindy. I just think it's not his style is not working. They got some players that he probably wanted, like Beck Mallenstein and all that, and they suck. Stop. So it's just not. He's not working.
Yeah.
And some of it's a talent deficiency and the setup. I mean, listen, you got put in a terrible spot. So I'm not going to fully blame him. I just think he's one done.
I don't disagree.
I think Kevin Adams should get fired. And I think they're going to I think the Sabres will go forward with having a new GM and a new head coach, and hopefully it's kind of like.
If I can give Pagula one word of advice, let's hire a GM this time around that has prior experience in the NHL front office.
Sure.
That'd be great. That'd be a good starting point. Let's start there. Pin that up on the wall right now. Hire a GM that has prior experience. Get it up there. We'll make you know what?
We'll put that,
I'm this close.
We'll put that where Stephon Diggs is.
Yes. We'll cover him up. And these happy memories for the Sabres that are legitimately memories because there's nothing like that happening this year. So
just again,
that's the season you should have done something about it. But it's not. I'm sorry. I'm so fired. I hate this.
No, but I think. Listen, they got to go big fish trading, and they can't be scared. Listen,
is it a total rebuild?
I'll say this right now. They got a lot of crap for that Middlestat trade. They've unequivocally won that trade.
They did.
Like, they've dominated that trade. Middlestat has really been terrible for Colorado.
They sold high, and it worked.
Yeah, and it worked. Mm-hmm. Like, you can say, oh, but what was Middlestat for Cousins? Who gives a shit?
I'd much rather have Bo Byram on the squad right now.
Well.
Yeah.
Now, again, his contract thing is a huge
problem
that they had to deal with that they're going to give their own headache to. But, again, at the same time, they've unequivocally won the trade. And that trade was not resoundingly loved. Like, a lot of people hated that trade at the time. Now everyone will be like, you know what? That was a good trade. And that's kind of what I feel like they need. I feel like they need a little bit of a
juice.
Oh, it's the same thing. I mean, McLeod hasn't played great, but nor has Matt Savoy. Really,
I'd rather have McLeod on the current roster than Matt Savoy just rotting in the prospect pool.
McLeod has been kind of hit. I think he's hasn't scored in 23 games, which is kind of bad. But again, like a little lesser of a degree. But at the same time, you probably think, all right, that wasn't a love trade, but it hasn't turned out negative.
Yeah,
I just feel like the Sabres I think they need to do that. But I'm kind of done talking about them. So I will say this though, Bandits.
I was just about to say,
what a squad.
3-0, 3-0.
What a squad! I'm seeing them Friday.
I'll be working it Friday at the arena. So I'll see
Saturday.
you again.
Listen, they didn't play great. I'm not gonna lie. They got the dub. They kind of fooled around a little bit.
They did.
Rochester sucks.
They're like a lion. They play with their food a little bit before they eat it. You know,
wasn't the greatest game that got Toronto. Rivalry.
That'll be a good
the
game.
rivalry of the NL. I'm excited.
I love that league is expanding too. Ottawa Black Bears. You got teams on the West Coast, Vegas too.
Yeah, we pounded them too.
Yeah.
Losers.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh those.
Wait till you see all the branding at KeyBank Center is gonna start switching to orange and black.
Hey, another banner.
Yeah.
It's like my dad was like, we had to go. I was like, all right. Well, this might be my only opportunity to see an actual championship banner raised in KeyBank.
Yeah. Or
I've seen we went to Ryan Miller's saw Ryan Miller's
Oh yeah, his technically number retirement or
number
Ryan Miller
retirement.
night they called it. Yeah.
His number retirement.
And RJ night I saw
so
that too.
I didn't see that.
It's the only time the Sabres can actually sell out an arena when it's for a past player that brings nostalgia. Maybe they should have learned from the Bills. Don't bring back Marv Levy in any kind of way. Lindy Ruff, I mean, I get it. It's not his fault, but you should have just I think you should have just started over coaching-wise. Do you know what I'm saying?
I don't know, man.
Hindsight's 20/20, right? I wasn't the biggest jump on the Lindy Ruff wagon when it first happened.
I was.
I remember this conversation specifically. I was not 100% on it. But as the off-season went on, the hype increased. Thought we were going to see a different team. Then Prague. nothing changed. So you and I watched that game together. I was like, okay, I'm done. Like
then Prague.
It's like that movie Central Intelligence, right? The Sabres. Are you in or are you out? You're like, I'm out. And then they're like, I'm sorry, but you're actually in. like you're in. Like you don't have a choice. You're done. I'm out. They already think you're in, so you're in. Like it's just that's what this team is. It's just ridiculous.
It's brutal. It's very hard to watch a game with them too.
I watch the stat sheet now, the box score. I don't turn on anything.
I mean, I don't know, man. You should be more happy that you beat the number one team in the East yesterday in a shootout, or 2 days ago. I can't remember when.
What a Sabres thing to do.
But,
can't beat Montreal once, and then you do that.
Yeah, I mean, trade deadline's in a month. Like I'm just intrigued. Like Zucker again, good move, but are they going to sign him to extension? Is that good business? How long are they going to trade him? Like, I mean, I assume if they trade him, he get a first-round pick. I mean, the guy's been the best player on their team.
Yeah.
So, guy knew Kevin Adams loves his first-round pick, so he'll never trade it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the guy has 31 points in 41 games. Like, I don't know. Like, Zucker, you can make a case has been their best player at times. So,
listen,
best forward at least. I mean, I think Dahlin's still the best player when he plays. But,
oh yeah. But Zucker, that's an addition I'm very happy with.
But like, what do? Do you sign him to extension or do you trade him?
I don't know. I tweeted something out, like what happens, and I got a bunch of tank gifs in the comments. Tanks doing donuts, saying you should just sell everything. And I'm like,
listen, tanking is. Listen, the Sabres. Why?
Yeah, tanking is too much.
But
much. Like selling high on players who are playing well to get prospects and maybe start a little bit of a rebuild if you bring in a new coach next season. What do you think?
Don't ever say that word again.
What, rebuild?
Yeah.
Why? Because they've been rebuilding for 13 years?
I don't want to hear the word rebuild. Well, you know what? Honestly, God, I'm going to say right now, I feel like the Zucker conversation is going to be a lot what the Alex Tuch conversation is going to be in the offseason. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Zucker in a couple months is going to be a free agent. You can sign him to extension or trade him.
Yeah.
Like, when we get to the offseason, Alex Tuch is like, in a year, Alex Tuch is going to be a free agent. You can sign him to extension or trade him.
Think he wants to play here still?
I don't know.
I mean, he's looked good in spurts this season, right?
He's been fine. I mean, he's been good.
He's been Alex Tuch. Like, he's been what you expect.
But he's been a second-line center playing a first-line center role. So it's like,
yeah,
hey, he's been solid. But, like,
he wins shootouts.
No, man, frustrating. Again, Bandits, a lot of fun.
Yeah. I might have to get some black trash bags for the Sabres pictures in here, actually.
I did win my family league in fantasy football.
Yes.
Week 18 comeback. Easily terrible that we have a 2-week playoff. and we go to week 18 because my cousin and I had like cut like a bunch of players that didn't play. Like he had to cut AJ Brown, Travis Kelce, but I was able to win. I feel a little bit bad about it. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm really not like showing my seats or anything.
Listen, I had no business being in my family playoff. I came in second. I basically played everybody on their worst week. Like at that point,
hey, it's a mental thing.
It's a mental thing. And I ended up coming in second place. I'll take runner-up with that performance.
So, I mean,
my running back too was Ray Davis for the entire season. Like, how does that happen?
All I'm saying, in the last 2 years, I've been in 5 fantasy football leagues. I've won 4 of them, and I've lost the other one in the finals. May have lost that game by 100 points. May have also been pretty banged up, but
yeah,
pretty fun year. Again,
excited for
the future dynasty.
Yeah,
and we've had a lot of fun. Can't believe football season's over pretty much until the playoffs.
Don't say it's not over until it's over, my friend.
I know we're in the playoffs. I meant regular season.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of just crazy that you think like week 1 we were in a friend's basement watching Xavier Worthy get a touchdown against the Ravens and the toe. His toe, likely his toe just being out of bounds.
Yes.
It's kind of just crazy to think that now we're.
Yeah. If only he had Deion Sanders' foot, he would have been able to get a touchdown there. But
Deion, I think, still has his pinky, my boy. I think Deion lost his big toe in his. I don't know.
I feel like that wouldn't that give enough?
I'm blanking. It's not your index. It's not like your index toe.
I don't know what
I don't know what the second.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how I label toes.
It's probably more scientific, whatever. I can't believe we're talking about toes now.
All right. We're gonna wrap this
is what
one
the
up.
Sabres have done to us.
Yeah, essentially at this point. So we'll see what happens with that team. Again, putting black trash bags over any Sabres pictures in this studio, but that's going to do it for this edition of the Buffalonian Podcast. Little wild card preview, MVP talk, and Bills loss recap, and of course the Sabres. How could we forget? But Dom, we'll be back for betting on the Bills this coming Friday for your wild card matchup against the Denver Broncos. How do we always end these, buddy?
Go Bills, baby.
Go Bills.